Okay, so week 4 is a little bit different. On this particular week, in addition to the normal submission of a video that I provide on the comments where I'm asking you what to submit for the week, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to expand a little bit and have an additional assignment. And that additional assignment is basically taking a value, reviewing that value, and then based upon that value, spit out a number of outputs. So I appreciate you guys that have reached out to me in regards to that particular assignment because it tells me that you're looking, and I've always asked you guys to reach out. And admittedly, it's a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and try to create more videos to elaborate what we're looking at here. All right, that being said, so this particular request is just a video for a tutorial. So it's going to ask myself, create a program to take a value and produce 3 or 6 outcomes. This example will take a value between 10 to 30, and it will print the value if it is 10, 20, or 30, and it'll also print the value if it's within these ranges. Now this is a little bit more elaborate than what I'm asking you, but the first thing that we want to do is we want to try to determine logically how would this come out. So if you do recall in the first week or two, I think I mentioned pseudocode. Pseudocode is nothing more, it's not a code, but it allows you to write out the steps, and then based on what we want, then we can write our actual code. So that's the first thing that I would highly suggest is just try to think, what is this asking me and how am I going to produce this? All right, so we know that take a value between. Immediately we know that we're going to need a value based upon the user entering it. So that's going to have A, the value being inputted in, and B, that value is going to have to go to a variable, and then we're going to have to check that variable. So the first thing that we're going to need is we're going to need an input, and this question could be a number of things, right? It could be just give me a number, or it could be a little bit more elaborate for a definitive. Give me a number between 10 to 30. All right, so that's going to be our initial first step. Now the second thing it's saying is print the value if it is a 10, 20, or 30. All right, so we know that we're going to have to print a statement out for those 3 specific values. Now in your reference section, let me see if I can get this to show better. In your reference section, remember, if you go to classwork on your Google Classroom, the reference section has these parameter operational values. And then if you look in here on this provision that I provided a while back, if we check that out, what we're given is the specific operators, right? So let's look at those. So these operators provide us a little bit of ability to do our checks. So just like math operators, greater than, our syntax will look like this, lesser than, but also we could add these two together and put in greater or equal to as well as less or equal to. And then if we want just the equal, it has to be equal sign, and it looks like this. All right, now since this is asking that specifically print the value if it is 10, 20, or 30, that tells me that one of our checks is going to have to be it's going to be an if else, so it's going to be if x equals 10, what am I going to do? I'm going to print out your number is 10. Else if x is equal 20, I'm going to print out your number is 20. And the same thing is going to occur for 30. Because I'm taking that x value and I'm checking first, does this equal to 10? Does this equal to 20? Does this equal to 30? Then print out accordingly what I want that to be. Now, the second part of this is print it out if the ranges are between 11, 19 and 20 and 29. So I'm going to have two additional else if checks for that value. Now this is the part that I don't recall if I showed you, but let me show you a trick. So since I'm going to look at 11 and 19 within this range, right? This is what I'm looking for. So I know I'm going to still use the same variable. And based on my operators, I could technically use the less than or equal sign to do my check. So let's just say if x is equal to, and my initial look is greater than or equal to 11. That's my first check. Or if it is less than or equal to 19. So I've taken that variable and I'm checking if it's greater than or equal to 11, which is my first part of my range, or less than or equal to 19, which is my second part of that same range. I want it to print out something. Your number is between 11 and 19. So this effectively had done already 4 checks, all right? If the variable value is 10, equal to 10, it's 10. If it's equal to 20, it's 20. If it's equal to 30, it's 30. Else if it is greater than equal to 11 or greater than equal to 19, less than equal to 19, your number is between 11 and 19. This same condition is going to be a check between the range of 21 to 29. And then, so this would be basically checking it between 21 to 29. And then at the last, it's going to have that default else. It's going to have that default else. And I can say something to the effect of print or whatever. Now, let's look at this code and see what it looks like in Python. So we've taken our request, we've sent out basically a little hierarchy of what we want it to do, and then at this point, it's all about coding it and testing it. So here, what I've done is I've taken, just like on the paper, my variable, whatever the input is, give me a number between 10 and 30. If the x is equal to 10, I want to print your number is 10. Else if the x is greater than or equal to 11, or x is less than equal to 19, your number is between 11 and 19. Check it if it's 20. Check if it's between a range of 21 and 29. Check if it's 30. And then my final else as a default, something's not right with your code. Now, I did this purposely not right with your code because you're going to have to come in here and keep running this and then use that number to check all of your conditions. Now, if it falls through your conditions to the final else, you know something's not right because it's missing a code. So what I will do is I will just literally put one condition first with my ending result. So my very first code that I check it with, I will only have these two statements. And then when I run this, I'll put the value 10. And then it should be caught here, producing your number is 10. If I put the value of 10 and it drops down to this, I know that this logic, this syntax is incorrect. Once that is done and fixed, then I'll add another code, another code, another code, and I'd be testing this all the way through until any number within this specific range provides my desired output. I know it's good. And then I can submit it for a grade. Now this is a specific example of my assignment that I'm asking for, that additional assignment this week. Now, I'm going to go ahead and submit this video up, provide an email to you guys on this, and then I'll get another video on the example of the assignment that I'm asking for.